was?
He built it for the guy that was doing avalanche control in Colorado, and they built
And
him
her
a
limestone guy.
Oh,
You know.
that was that shoulder fired
yeah
payload.
shoulder
Oh
fired
God, what
20
was that thing?
millimeter.
The thing was huge. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a Finnish gun or a Polish gun or something.
Yeah, because they made it modular too, where they could switch out and side it in with the 50 caliber barrel, and then swap over to the 20 millimeter to do the avalanche control.
Hey, y'all are already messing up Cork's chat. We're live and you're talking about guns.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's going to be more of an informal chat anyway, so. Well, we're going to be talking tonight about non-firearm related projectile weapons, so bows, slingshots, etc. You get the drift. So I just want to do quick introductions here, at least as I see them from left to right. We got B. Girk.
What's up?
We got gun websites, G-Webs.
Howdy.
We got Hosh here, who's empty chair, Hosh Nazi. So Nathan from Nathan's Armory.
What up?
Stone Guy 223.
Hello, hello.
Tex Grebner. Hope I pronounced your last name right.
You've heard me say it enough.
I know. But I always want to say Grubner for some reason.
By the way, before we get started, is this G-rated or is it after 10 o'clock on the East Coast to where we're past prime time?
This
It's
is a plus
definitely
18
not
chat.
G-rated. Yeah.
Hey, I just want to know before I get into my normal charming self. I know
Trust me, it's free for all here. The language is not all that, you know.
It's G-Webs rated, so fucking A.
And of course, you got myself. So you know, I really didn't come up with a whole lot of questions or topics. I mean, I just came up with this. Well, Huck just came up with this idea last night. So I just ran with it from there, and I guess we're gonna do this a little bit more informal. We can talk about different things. Like we'll start off with the one question that I did have is your favorite non-projectile weapon, and we'll do this left to right again. So we'll start off with Kirk.
My fist. Can that count, right?
Non-firearm, yeah. No, non-firearms projectile weapon. So like a bow, slingshot, atlat.
Oh, I thought you said non-projectile.
Oh no, yeah, non-firearm projectile. So non-firearm.
Unless you can shoot your fists off like Voltron.
But his fists could be projectiles. I mean, they.
Beer bottles.
Yeah, it can be thrown. It can be launched from like a bow. It just can't be launched by gunpowder.
You know,
Leave it to the black
when your old
man to talk
lady's
about
getting
throwing
rowdy,
beer
there's
bottles.
nothing like an MGD bottle.
That's a double deuce in his
No,
case.
I've shot a compound bow one time, and I was sore for like a week.
What, did you get wrist slap?
Hell no, I had like a muscle up in this area somewhere that I didn't know I had that was hurting. I was in like a Bass Pro or something like that, and the guy he was all in uniform. He was like, "Hey, you want to shoot this?" Hell yeah! I'm struggling. It was cool as hell.
Yeah. Well, before we continue on, welcome back to the chat, Huck and Rob from Bad Company 1911.
What's going on?
Oh, Rob's here. I gotta go.
All right, we're up to this is the black screen G-Webs.
Oh, I don't have a picture up. I like bows and arrows and that kind of thing, but I am going to be an advocate of the improvised sling in this chat.
Improvised sling. Awesome weapon.
It killed
I
Goliath.
wish I didn't hit myself in the head with them all the time.
Extremely hard to learn, yeah, but
That's got Bible power behind it, G-Webs.
extremely effective too.
And by the way, if you guys hear me shout out or anything, it's just because of the basketball game, so don't worry about it. I'll live. Hosh, you're up.
Hosh's favorite projectile weapon is his baby's vomit.
That's it. No, it's the blowgun, which is kind of more just for fun, small game stuff, and the air rifle. I will take the air rifle.
We are counting air rifle because non-gunpowder.
But a very
launch,
specific,
so.
very specifically, I'm referring to the inert gas spring or breech load air rifle, not the pre-charged pneumatic, because the pre-charged pneumatic requires scuba tanks and compressors and a whole large infrastructure to support it. For just your regular shooter, the spring guns, or like I said, the pre-charged or the inert gas spring are the way to go, since they don't really wear out on you.
Awesome.
And if they do, a little bit of rubber is the only thing that wears down, and that's easily replaced. They're pretty easy to repair too. I'm gonna go for the Atlatl just to be a little different here, because they are extremely effective and they're a little easier to learn than some of the other methods of improvised projectiles.
For those that are not familiar with the Atlatl, that's the one where you've got a short piece of wood to extend your arm's reach, so you get a farther and stronger launch of a spear.
Yeah, you're basically taking we use this a spear like this and using a piece of wood that's got a hook on it, so that you have a long handle and you can get extra leverage and extra distance and accuracy out of them.
Yeah, a lot of people may not know what that is, so that's why I was bringing it up. It's
good point.
It takes a little while to learn, but it's not that hard to learn.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier than learning to just basic spear hunt or hunt with a sling or hunt,
Oh, it's a lot easier to learn than use a sling. I can tell you that.
Yeah, slings are tough. They're one of the more effective ways to go, but they are very, very tough to get.
All right, Nathan, you're up.
Well, I'm torn. I'll have one I mention later, but I'm going to say my favorite projectile weapon is my airsoft rifles and pistols. Love my airsoft.
But can you kill anything with an airsoft?
You mean specifically?
Hold on. You want something that's deadly, then?
Well, something you can at least hunt with. I mean, you can't really hunt with most
I hunt
airsoft
my best
stuff.
friends with my airsoft rifles.
Wait, sorry. So you do mean plastic BB shooting airsoft, right? Not a air rifle.
No, I'm talking about airsoft, where you go out and play. You and your buddies shoot each other.
Okay.
Right. It's equivalent of like simunition.
Yeah.
It's great for practice and hitting people and stuff. It's not a deadly weapon.
No. The reason I ask
you can put someone's eye out, but you wear goggles.
I asked because a lot of people have confused the two or conflated the difference between the two. Is one's an air rifle which shoots lead projectiles that can easily kill animals, and then the other is a plastic BB shooter. Big difference.
So I'm just going with that because that is my favorite projectile weapon because it is a great training tool and I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna call foul on that one because we're looking at something you could even hunt small game with. We can't do that with.
Well, I'm sorry, Cork. You didn't qualify it ahead of time. Fine. My new crossbow I got on Black Friday. My crossbow.
Your new crossbow, that works.
Okay.
Although it takes you a minute to reload.
Now you're going to judge my crossbow, my airsoft guns. My $5,000 in airsoft weaponry and equipment is not good enough for you, and now you're going to complain about a crossbow. Daryl Dixon should come and kick you in the crotch.
As a bow fan, I just have to say that I just think the crossbows are just unrealistically not very effective when you have to shoot multiple targets.
Well, I'm not talking about going into combat with a compound or a crossbow gooberhead, but they're great for picking up and shooting a wild hog with.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you.
How many second shots do you get on wild game with bowed weaponry, huh?
Unless
you get a couple shots off.
The nuclear plant, usually only one.
Well, Rob, you're up.
Okay, I'm assuming the topic is favorite projectile weapon that's not a actual firearm.
That is correct.
Does Claymore count?
Well, it can't be launched by gunpowder.
Or a charge.
Explosives.
Or let the guy get
No
his
explosive charges. Okay. And in that case, I'm a side with I believe it was Nathan who said crossbow.
Yep.
How about thrown?
I definitely like my Quad 400 crossbow, and it would be my choice projectile weapon simply for the fact that I can't really throw anything worth of shit. and I'm not too good with a slingshot or most of the other stuff that was mentioned, so I'm going crossbow.
How
Also,
about a
bow worth the crap either.
I'm changing my answer to dynamite cork.
how about if you throw the dynamite or the claymore with a sling?
How about throwing dart?
But that's not the, that's not quite in the spirit of this chat.
Ninja smoke?
Or you just gotta be nitpicky, don't you?
Yes, I do. All right, Stone Guy.
Well, probably the most practical would probably be the old, some type of bow or crossbow for sure. But I'm gonna say the old ball and chain.
Gonna let your wife loose on him and let her nag him to death, or what?
How far can you throw your wife, Stone Guy?
Yeah, I don't. Can we? Does that count?
Ball and chain.
Does the ball and chain count?
That's a projectile weapon.
It's attached to a chain.
Yeah,
but you throw the ball though.
It's still swinging a projectile. You could let it go technically.
Much as a spear.
Yeah, but that's like I'm gonna take a gun that shoots swords.
No, throwing a sword isn't a valid answer though, or throwing a spear is a valid answer.
All right, I'm changing it to tomahawk then.
Let's see that.
That's wrong. That when he said claymore, I thought he meant throw a sword.
That's okay. There you go. There you go.
His answer.
Right, you just
Tex. Save the.
Okay, so who's ready for this shit?
I am.
Okay, so give me my piece here. All right. I've got a little bit of experience with an atlatl. Got a lot of experience with the spears. As far as the crossbow goes, I personally, as a sport hunter, do not like crossbows because I have to compete against them if they get put into the archery record books. But as a method of securing meat in a suppressed fashion without needing to have a government trackable tax stamp, a crossbow is a recoilless rifle out to 80 yards. So if I felt the need to actually do that, then I would in fact own a crossbow. But I would not own one of the compound crossbows. I would go with one of the recurved crossbows like the Excaliburs, because if something did happen to where you needed to work on it yourself, it would take some doing, but you could do it. My choice, my own personal favorite projectile weapon has got to be the recurve bow. I like my compound, but I take no joy in it. I just got done, and I'm currently rendering a 3D archery shoot video that's epically long, where we went through a compound archery course and shot it with traditional archery today. 40 targets, no let off, mountain climbing, targets out to 40 to 50 yards. I mean, it was ridiculous, but hopefully it makes for some good video.
Awesome. And for me, a lot of these answers were awesome. I enjoyed them all. I tried most of them. I've never shot a crossbow, though. That's one thing I haven't shot yet. But for me, my favorite is a wrist rocket. I just love being able to shoot a wrist rocket. They're fun, enjoyable, inexpensive, and basically, if you can pick it up off the ground, you can shoot it through the wrist rocket.
Hey, real quick, if I can.
Easy to carry around a bunch of extra rubbers for it.
Hey, real quick. I just got a Matt Military Archer just tweeted the 545 ammo will continue to come in from Russia. The only ammo that's banned from import is the 7N6. That is
right.
with the armed person.
That's the stuff with the mild steel core, as opposed to the commercial stuff that they don't bother with that because they just use lead.
Okay, yeah, so that's banned, but 545 is still going to come Tweet
But
that out.
we're not. I don't want to step on Cork's chat. We're going to talk about that later. But definitely, we'll bring that up because the real issue is them making a law, not what they're making a law about. But sorry, Cork.
Hey, no, not a problem at all. I mean, I said this is kind of informal. Don't have a whole lot of questions, actually. That was a main one I had. I just wanted to find out what people liked, and I can just open this up for a little bit of general discussion here, but
Well, I think we should talk about just
Texas opinion on recurve versus compound, and that's one of the directions I wanted to go is, those that have experience, and I'm hoping it's just not Tex and myself with those two types of bows, but any you have a preference over the two, and why?
Yeah, I prefer a man's bow, sorry.
a man's bow being what?
The kind that they originally designed.
The longbow?
Really, really good for a really, really long time. Yeah, I'm a fan of actually short bows, but I prefer recurve over anything else. I was just talking shit with a man's bow thing.
Oh, you mean bows without training wheels?
Yeah. Yeah, bows without little things that do the work for you, little pivots that do the work for you and hold the bow back for you. And they are cool and everything, and if you're, if I was feeding my family, I'd probably want the best chance possible with all the crazy, sights and resistance so your arm doesn't get tired and all that, but as I am with most stuff, I'd rather have the real way to do it, the way that they used to do it, the way that our ancestors did it.
The old-fashioned way, Grandpa?
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned with... Go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm coughing. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I like my compound, but I take no joy in it. I've got top-of-the-line shit. And to be quite honest, I mean, within our circle, I'm going to flatter myself and say that I'm kind of the outdoor guy. God forbid I say that. But, I mean, I've kind of made my career out of these non-firearm projectile weapons to where, I've got the experience, but, nobody gives a shit to listen to me about it. It's like, when I make a video about something, I have to bring it all the way down to the lowest common denominator, to where it has to be replicatable, it has to be attainable, and it has to be completely replicatable and attainable, where I can make anything work. I can drive a square peg through a round hole with a big enough hammer, but that does not do the viewing public any good that may not have my skill level. So I have to bring stuff down to the lowest common denominator, which is why I put so much work into the archery side of things with, say, a Samick Sage recurve. I've been trying to get Hashnasi to buy one of them motherfuckers for a year now, and I still can't convince him to do it.
It's on my Amazon wish list. It's gonna get purchased someday. It's just we're not there yet.
Hey, I've done all the legwork for you, fucker.
No, it's the bow that I will buy.
That means that some sugar mama that's listening to this can go to your wish list and buy it for you, right?
If that's my mom, because my birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks, then yes.
I sincerely hope your mom isn't watching this chat.
I just assume most of Cork's audience is wealthy older women.
Wealthy heiresses? Yeah.
So Cork, I wanted to put this in since you didn't think airsoft weapons were high-end enough for your chat. This right here is my M249 saw. This can fire 240 BBs inside a minute and a half.
Still gay.
And
so what? I'm gonna have a little red
Is that a ghost airsoft?
Are you doing like airsoft or like Milsim?
This is airsoft, and it's full steel. It only weighs about 10 pounds, but some of the guys I've talked to, they've run across snakes when they've been out playing, and you can rip a snake or a squirrel in half with one of these with enough rounds. There was a guy who blew a guy's ear off who was robbing his house in Dallas once, chased him down the street with an airsoft. But I mean, this thing fires. This whole magazine fills with BBs.
It has to be like 1,000.
That's 2,400 BBs it can shoot in a minute and a half. And it's shooting them at 300 feet per second, which is about as powerful as a Daisy BB rifle fires.
Yeah, just enough to leave a bruise.
Yeah, it leaves welts.
You would definitely not want to hide inside a gingerbread house with that thing coming at you.
Yeah.
I've got to back up what Nathan's saying on this one, because I ran into some jackass with one of those when I was down at Airsoft Atlanta. Not knowing what it was or how powerful the damn thing was, I turned a corner on him, and I looked like I had chicken pox by the time he got done with me.
Yeah, that being said, for that price, you can buy a real AR.
But to clarify real quick, even though it's shooting the same speed as a Daisy, the pellet mass is much lighter than a Daisy BB.
It is lighter, yes.
Yeah.
One of these at point blank range will leave a marble-sized bruise on you.
They don't make the aluminum BBs or the steel BBs anymore for them.
No, they don't.
Oh, I never thought about aluminum BBs. How hard would that be?
They weren't. They sold the shit out of them.
The BBs are hard. It's the mass that counts.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but the aluminum would have a little bit more than plastic, right?
Yeah, they were good too. They fed more reliably. You get a little more velocity because it was harder to push them out. You get more of the push behind it before it exits the barrel, and they work great, but they didn't last very long in the market.
Yeah. Well, I want to answer this one. The question that I originally posed. Sorry, I was watching the end of the game, and it's all tied up, so they're going into overtime. But for me, I'm like Tex. I enjoy shooting the recurve a lot more than I do shooting a compound. I find it more enjoyable, more fun. It seems that the compound is a lot less work and takes a little less skill.
Well, that's what I always tell people. Would you rather take a deer at 100 yards with an old 30-30 lever action with iron sights, or would you rather take it with a Remington 700 with a 14 power scope on it? Which would you feel more of a badass or more good about the kill or the meat that you'd be bringing your family home? Which would make you feel better?
Oh, personally, I would rather have the 14 power scope so I know that I got a clean, quick kill.
Okay.
Yep. That's exactly what Stone got in this one.
So then, not a recurve. You'd want the bow because you get a cleaner kill with it, more accurately and everything.
Yep.
And I mean, I can respect what he's saying. I mean, I see what both of you are saying. I understand it. Yeah, just in full agreement with the both of you. Okay, first of all, let me go off on a tangent here. I am sick and fucking tired of all of these broke-ass fucking kids like, oh, PVC bows, PVC bows. You ever shot a PVC bow? They fucking suck. They don't metabolize energy worth a fuck. They don't tune worth a fuck. And they are a poor-ass excuse for a bow. They are actually, in my opinion, an insult to primitive archery by taking something completely archaic and then bringing it into the cheap side of postmodern America. It makes me sick because these people get into the PVC archery thing and they're like, oh, you could do this with it, you could do that with it. I hunted for 4 fucking years with a compound bow, and then I hunted a year with a recurve, and I have yet to ever kill any small game with any type of bow so far. And I'm a skilled archer. So the idea of these people being able to, oh, you could hunt with a PVC bow, it is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the lowest common denominator. It takes more skill to shoot one of those. Do not get me wrong. I have a lot of respect for the Backyard Bowyer channel. He does excellent work, but that is what he does. He is a PVC bowyer. But the idea of somebody doing this is not cost effective, because by the time you spent enough money on enough PVC pipe to where you could actually make a decent fucking bow out of it, then you wouldn't have any money left over for arrows, and you would go somewhere and get fucking laughed at. So why not just buy a decent takedown recurve for $150 to where you can actually learn proper traditional archery.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Tex on the fact that if you want to make your archery harder, there's easy ways to do it. Buy the old-fashioned recurves and shoot traditional. You don't have to take it to a lower level than that. Come on, it's not like got to make your. I mean, if you want to be a real awesome guy, make your own bow out of wood. Make a traditional bow. You can do that.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to take it to the next level, make your own knife, make your own bow. That's manliness. Don't just go make it out of PVC pipe. That's dumb.
Well, it's what they got on hand, right? I mean, I can't fault people for trying to learn something new. Just don't try and give it Superman powers with what you think it's capable of. It's a novelty, and you'll learn something. It's fun.
And it'd be great in the apocalypse if that was your only bow.
Yeah, if you had nothing, sure, make some PVC bows or I don't know, bullshit knives. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to quote Yeager here and say that you do not rise to your level of training, you fall to your level of mastery. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I could probably get by on a PVC bow if I had to, because I have the skill set of shooting a bow already.
Exactly, but you'd never go into the field with one on purpose, right?
Absolutely not. I would never go into the field with one on purpose unless I was trying to prove a point.
And I will let all of you know that when it comes to bows, Tex has a lot of experience, but I believe I'm the only one certified by the Boy Scouts of America to be an archery range master. So, Tex, you have to take second fiddle to me in this conversation on bows.
I did that with Brownie groups. I never did it with Boy Scouts.
Well,
I'm perfectly fine. You know, I was once told never be the smartest person in the room because that means all the smart people left.
Yeah, I do have a question here for Tex. This is strictly for bow, and I'm going to start out by saying I learned to shoot on a late 1950s Root bow, a recurve. Root is the name of the manufacturer. That's how I learned to shoot a bow. So my question is to Tex here is, what would you suggest a person who is looking at a bow and learning to shoot for the first time, what would you suggest that they start out and learn to shoot properly with a bow?
I would avoid compounds in the sense that if you're doing archery, you know, I'm going to have to qualify this first. With the PVC bows, there is a difference between arts and crafts and, you know, actual archery. If you're just doing it for fun, fine. But don't feel the need to validate yourself by saying, oh, this is a survival tool. That's arts and crafts, motherfucker. I'm sorry. As far as to actually answer your question, it takes too much money to get into compound archery for somebody that's not going to be hunting larger game at longer distances. You know, I, like I say, have to work within the lowest common denominator because good gear costs less than shitty gear in the long run. You don't have to keep replacing it. You don't have to keep updating it because you've got the top of the line. And if you want to see the top of the line, you can go to my channel. Shameless plug there. But as far as actually answering your question, I know I'm kind of giving a Yankee response here.
Yeah, that's okay.
As far as actually answering your question, somebody that is getting into archery, I would suggest them looking at a Samick Sage recurve because it has a long string angle for a male shooter that will allow them to get a good clean release. The riser is cut to true center, which allows the arrow to fly more cleanly without having to play with your arrow too much. They only cost $150 shipped from Three Rivers Archery. They have replaceable limbs You can take them apart. You know, they're an excellent bow for the money. I keep looking over at it, and you can do a lot with a Samick Sage recurve. For male shooters, I would say 50-pound draw recurve. For female shooters, I would say 45 or 40-pound draw.
One thing to add to the Samick Sage, you can take it down without the use of tools.
Yes, that was a big selling point for me when I went from the Jaguar to the Sage.
And I would say also that I believe people getting into archery should begin with a recurve and then should work their way up if they choose to go to a compound. Same way I would tell people to start off with a normal rifle and then work their way up to maybe a bench rest gun later. I wouldn't say go spend $2,000 on a bench rest gun, because with archery it's just like firearms. You can go through the roof on what you spend on it.
That is very true.
So you mentioned 40-pound versus 50-pound. I've shot bows, but not enough to remember what all that stuff really means when you apply it to downrange. So my first thing is I remember the difference between shooting a full recurve and a compound. And as much as everybody said they didn't like compounds, they're way easier physically to shoot compared to how much you get out of them. So I'm wondering if you said between a 40 and a 50. My first question is, well, what if a dude carries a 40? Is there that much really difference in what comes out downrange, so that if a guy carried around a 40, it would just be less fatiguing and easier to acquire an accurate shot because you don't have as much to hold back? Or do you lose so much from that 10 pounds that you'd rather recommend going up to 50?
Well, keep in mind, G-Webs, when I say that, I'm kind of segregating my audience to where I'm talking to the younger males that would generally be getting into it, to where they can get into it. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a grown male shooting a 40-pound bow. But at the same time, anything in North America can be killed with a properly tuned arrow for a 40-pound bow, and anything that walks on land in the world can be killed with a 50-pound bow. Now, granted, that
So
being
there's that
said,
much difference then. That's the difference between like a deer and a grizzly bear or something.
right. Granted, I'm the guy that has a 100-pound recurve, and I shot a 75-pound recurve this year.
So that's something else to bring up. We're talking 40, 50. That's not anywhere near the range. They go down to 30, and they go up to, what, 100 and something? 150? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like in the shape I'm in, I couldn't draw a 100-pound recurve. I could draw
Oh,
and fire.
Most people can't even pull a 75, I don't think.
Yeah, I would have. I don't think I could do a 75. I could probably handle a 50-pound, but not for very many shots before my muscles fatigued and went to crap. I'd have to practice a lot and build it up. But what you're kind of talking about here is the weight of the bow versus your average strength, that if you were to practice 2 or 3 times a week, what you could get used to, what you could handle, what you could fire multiple shots at, there's kind of a limitation to it without going into extreme physical muscle building. So a 50-pound is about right for your average male who is going to shoot it regular. Like, I couldn't handle a 50-pound now. I'd have to work into it. It'd take me a couple weeks to build my muscles up to work into it to where I could shoot it more than 4 or 5 times accurately.
What if it was like Hunger Games, though, and you only had like a day or two to prepare, and then you had to go out and hunt your friends?
If I had to go hunt my friends in a day or two, I would pick a 40-pounder. I could handle that.
Okay.
I could. Well, okay. The 100.
You work out more than I do.
Well, I shoot. I compete in a traditional archery league, so that's entirely different. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a job, but to an extent, I'm a competition shooter with it. So it's entirely different for me, which is why I can bang out the 40 arrows out of the 75-pound recurve. And yeah, sure, I'll feel it by the end of it, but it's all really about the development of the muscle, because it does atrophy, but once you've had it, as long as you don't let it atrophy back too far, you can regain it very quickly. I mean, I take shit all the time. That 150, 175-pound bow you've got, because my arrows, when I shoot at the 3D League, it's indoors at 20 yards, and I'm getting the arrow all the way through the skunk target, the little Reinhardt skunk target. I'm getting the arrow like 6 inches beyond the target to where I'm actually getting pass-throughs on 3D targets. So it's like, and I mean, to an extent, the high draw weight bows are kind of my gimmick, but they do have a place to an extent, but I don't recommend them. That's like what I said about the lowest common denominator.
But it's the same way. Let's just take running for instance. I would suggest to anyone that you should go out and run 2 to 3 miles 2 to 3 times a week. I wouldn't suggest everyone should go train for a marathon. You know what I'm saying? That human beings can physically work themselves up to amazing physical achievements. Which
I didn't think there was any running in this chat. I didn't sign up for any of that.
No. There's no running in this chat. Just as an example, if you look at like those tough man competitions, those guys who can lift 800 deadlift 800 pounds, and can't scratch their backs. I mean, human beings can build up muscles and work themselves up over time and train to do amazing things, but your average Joe doesn't have the time or inclination to work their way up to shooting a 100-pound draw weight bow. But that's why compound bows are so popular, because when you pull a compound bow back, you have 40% of the energy let off after you get the cams back over the midpoint. So you're only holding 40% of the max draw weight, and it's much easier to hold that back and keep it held back when it's not as heavy.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're not talking about the fact that it also makes them way smaller, right? I mean, I've seen some really cool little compounds that it would take a long bow to get the equivalent.
Because of the cams, the rolling wheels, engineers can design the cams to shift the size of the bows and to put the energy of the limbs through the cams and the draw. So you can make very tiny bows out of compound bows. In fact, that was the rage a couple years ago, and now they've gone back to kind of the average size, I would call it. But if you take the bow that I learned to shoot with when I was 16 and compare it to what the average is now, it's probably 6 inches shorter nowadays, but it did go a full foot shorter than what I started on. And lightweight materials,
compound bows from the 90s, from the early 90s and the late 80s that we started on, my God, they didn't have hardly any advantages over the recurve or the longbow other than the weight let off. They were so loud, it sounded like shooting a .22 when you let off a compound bow with an aluminum arrow.
Yeah, I remember when I got out of high school, I got my first carbon graphites and went off aluminum. And now it's hard to even find aluminum. They still make them, but most people don't use them. Graphite's too cheap.
I love my carbon arrows. I mean, granted, I shoot pretty much exclusively full metal jackets now, the aluminum wrapped carbons, and they're not indestructible, trust me. I'm Tex fucking Grebner. I can fuck up anything. But, I like them better. But I absolutely hate the fact that I shoot Easton arrows, because I grew up on the shitty XX75s that you had to cut to 26 inches with an overdraw, or they'd tie themselves into a knot on the way to the target.
So, Tex, do you ever throw knives into trees and stuff?
I have. I've actually had a casualty doing that of a camera. And I have thrown knives in my time. I used to do, like, for the local carnival in my town, I used to do some Wild West bullshit. You know, throwing knives, bullwhips, snuffing the candles like Zorro and shit. As far as throwing knives go, people don't understand just how dangerous they are, in the sense that when a spring steel throwing knife doesn't hit the target correctly, it comes back at you roughly the same speed that it left. And a pretty well-known YouTuber recently, that's a female, almost, dare I say the word, Grebnered herself with a throwing knife. The irony being everybody was white knighting for her and insulting me on the video. But I love how everybody else that has an accident with a weapon is some kind of hero for coming forward, and yet I'm the idiot of the village. Yes, G-Webs, that would be her. Correct.
I don't know how to say your name, otherwise I'd probe your channel because I like her channel.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to say it either.
I thought it was just Colette. I thought she just called herself Colette.
Oh, she did a video a long time ago. I just forgot. She did do a video on how to say it, but I forgot. Anyway, you guys know the channel. It's awesome.
And I mean, I've got a set of Cold Steel original. I think they're True Flight throwing knives. Back in my older, shittier years on YouTube, I used to do a lot of shit with them. Now it's like, well, I don't want to rehash the same stuff, but in all reality, if it's older than a week on YouTube, nobody's going to watch it because they don't know how to navigate channels anymore.
Does anyone here on the panel have any practice with throwing weapons that, like if they got into trouble, they would be carrying a knife that they actually know how to throw? Like, I have knives I would carry in an emergency situation, but I don't know how to throw them. At least not
growing
just
up in
have them
growing up
bounce
in
off
scouts. Growing up in scouts, I mean, we'd throw knives whenever there weren't, people weren't looking to tell us not to. So
I was about to say, we don't let
you
our
got
scouts
used-
throw knives. Y'all crazy?
No, you get in trouble, but we did it, and same thing with hatchets, and you get to learn that it's not. You don't need a throwing knife. Throwing knives are nice because they don't destroy themselves when you throw like 3 or 4 at the target. But almost any knife you can throw once you get used to it, and it's not difficult at all. I always recommend just grab a piece of wood that you can throw at, or some cardboard like she does, and just start throwing, and you'll figure out real quick that it's an easy thing to do, especially if you're talking about the distances inside a room. It's real easy.
See, I always had trouble getting them to stick because they would always hit hilt or side.
Oh yeah. But once you get the concept down, it's like Tex was saying with the bullwhip. Like, it's the same kind of thing. It seems really complicated, like it's impossible to describe to someone. It's just like throwing a softball or something. Once you do it a bunch, you just know how to do it. It's like riding a bike. Once you figure it out, you kind of can throw once or twice with a new knife and figure out where it spins and what the distance you're throwing at is, and you can start sticking without much practice at all.
Now, see, that's why I was like ninja stars when I was a kid, because they would stick on all sides, so you just had to get it,
The one thing I would say, if you are throwing your pocket knife and not a throwing knife, throw at a soft target. Don't throw at wood or something, because you're most likely to damage or, ruin your hilt or snap it. So throw it at something soft, like foam board or cardboard.
Super easy to acquire and cheap, and yeah, you can replace it.
From a tactical standpoint, though, I have to make this clear. I myself, if I have the choice, would never throw my weapon at the enemy. Okay. Spears, I'm a hypocrite. They're meant to be thrown, some of them. Kind of different. The whole modern day scenario of the throwing knife, they're cool, but I wouldn't throw the knife at my enemy if he had the opportunity to pick it up. Now, I did, when I used to do a lot of, city walking at night, I did carry a throwing knife for dogs because they don't have opposable thumbs. They weren't going to be able to throw it back at me.
That is a good point.
Tex, you are amazing.
I won't condone throwing knives at dogs. That's messed up.
Why don't you just carry some pepper spray, though, for the dogs, though, and for future reference? Just a suggestion.
And I posted a link to her channel so you guys can see awesome throwing knife channel.
Thank you.
Cool. Now, Joe,
let's just say at the time I wasn't really old enough to have the knife, and I wasn't old enough to buy pepper spray.
Okay.
So on and so forth.
I will say real quick, there are a couple ways of throwing knives. There's single flip, multi flip, and then no flip. So depending on what you're throwing, the type of knife, if they're specifically made for certain types of throwing, there'll be one or two there'll be the proper ways to throw them. So your mileage will vary. But yeah, that Colette is the way to go. What's up?
I do have to qualify, though, again, that even though I said I would never throw my knife at an enemy, if you know your Musashi duel history, he did win one of his most famous samurai duels by throwing his blade.
Yeah, that is true.
If I was as dumb as I looked, I wouldn't be able to button my shirt in the morning.
Well, it's all about having a lot of tools in the toolbox, I think, and just being dexterous is, good for other things. So I think for me, it's now learning to throw with my left hand more than anything because I've been throwing a long time with my right hand. But it's not like I anticipate throwing knives around people. But I guess worst case scenario, if you need to, even if you need to just throw a knife over to somebody safely without hitting them, like, let me throw you this, get this knife to you. I mean, being able to sink it into a tree or something is just a, confidence thing. Like, I know I can get this knife 6 feet over to that person without it falling into the, hole that they're standing next to if they need this to cut a rope from or something. You can fill in the blank with your perilous reason why they need a knife.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say it's something I've been looking forward to getting into is throwing knives. Just to have that ability to do so. And who is sitting there typing on the keyboard?
Probably me, because I'm rendering. I'll mute my mic.
I think it was actually Hosh.
That was not me. I was typing, but that was not me that time.
I'm scared to think what Tex is rendering, whether it be candles, human skin for jackets, or a video.
I think it's actually earwax candles.
Earwax candles, nice.
Like in the Count of Monte Cristo.
But what are you guys' thoughts on tomahawks? Because I like throwing my, But is there really a practical use for throwing a tomahawk? Would you rather, again, with a knife?
Haven't you ever seen Last of the Mohicans?
Very useful weapon.
What
I know
about?
it's a very useful weapon, but in your situation, you're throwing away, unless you got something with a longer reach.
What if?
Well, you're going to get shot, and you're about, there's like you game
Well,
all
I
kinds
mean,
of
yeah,
reasons why you might need last ditch type of thing.
Or what if someone is holding a knife to your son's throat, and so he's a redcoat, and all you have is a tomahawk?
I'm solidly in the camp of don't throw away your weapon. And realistically, we're not going to be facing redcoats or need to do that, the throwing of the tomahawk. It's such a good weapon, but I wouldn't ever carry one because I'd rather have a proper hatchet or a proper proper axe than bother with the tomahawk.
Well, you got very rounded axe, just like you guys did. But when you're talking, everything inclusive, they didn't start throwing tomahawks because they went into battle winging tomahawks at each other. They started throwing tomahawks because they were warriors and they were sitting around a camp, fighting for the chicks or boasting about who's the best warrior, and that was the thing they could do with the thing that they carried. But
Yeah.
I think a tomahawk is much more important than just a hatchet or just an axe. Those are tools. A tomahawk is a weapon.
Well, it's got the same function,
It
though.
is.
It can be used the same way.
It
Hey,
can be,
Haas.
but so what? That you can. That's like saying that you can take a piece of metal and use it as a shovel. I mean, sure, it'll pierce dirt, but is it good at it? No. Is it effective? No. Is it built for it? No. Tomahawk is built for being in and out, into meat and out. It's a fighting weapon, where a axe is shaped differently, weighted differently, designed differently.
Sure. Okay, in that sense, yes, I agree with you. It is designed to be a weapon.
But unlike a big hunting knife, like a big Rambo knife, which in my opinion is less useful than a hatchet can be used quickly to sharpen sticks, to make improvised other weapons, to break rocks. It's a much more useful weapon that can create other weapons if necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is why you were all hard dick about the throwing knife, and then no, we can't throw the fucking tomahawk.
Well, hold on here. Okay.
Me? I wasn't. I was just telling the difference between. I don't care. I would rather keep the knife too. That's me.
Here's the thing. The tomahawk is excellent at doing damage to flesh. Not as good at chopping wood or bone as a hatchet. But then again, the hatchet, because of its weight, is not as effective because you can't use it as quickly, and it's not as much of a martial arts type weapon as the tomahawk. The tomahawk is really in my opinion, is a martial arts type weapon because of the weight and damage it can do. And the only reason I see to throw a tomahawk is when you look over, you're fighting with your tomahawk, and you're like, oh crap, someone's about to kill my friend. I can't get there in time. And I'd rather save him than have my weapon. Like it's a last-ditch. Throwing it's a last-ditch effort, in my opinion.
It's a movie scene, is what you're saying, that's about to go down.
Well, I mean, if somebody's drawing a gun up on you as you're running at them, and you can throw it at them and still have your knife in your hand, that's a better option than letting them shoot you, because that'll definitely throw off their aim.
Well, you can also just throw your knife and keep your tomahawk.
While we're on the Patriot, how about them there
just learn how to throw both. I mean, you can't throw a pistol and effectively hurt somebody. I mean, you can, I guess, but you're not going to practice throwing a pistol or something. It is something.
I'm going to say this: if you get a Mosin, you can practice throwing the Mosin with the bayonet on the end.
Oh my God, I hate Mosins.
But I want to go into one more throwing weapon here that we haven't talked about. I know that Tex has a lot of experience with, and I know he already knows what I'm talking about, the spear. Because I've seen a lot of your videos on the cold steel stuff.
What do you want to know?
Well, if somebody were looking at the cold steel spears, because they seem to be like the most affordable option for something that's also functional, what would you suggest?
The cold steel spears are functional, and they're the only spears that I've ever seen on the market that are remotely worth a fuck. With that being said, I do have a video on the topic called Cold Steel Spear Dynamics, but I'll rehash it a little bit. The Zamburu spear is a throwing spear. It has a point on the rear end. That point is not a practice point. That point is meant to be able to be used as a tribal digging stick, or if there is an animal on the ground that is paralyzed, you pull your spear out, you reverse the spear, and then you drive the sharp point down into the animal's brain. The Zamburu spear is incredibly strong front to back, but it is not strong at all side to side. If you miss and throw into the ground in front of a 3D target, the force of that spear pole vaulting will break it in the middle. So if you're going to buy a cold steel spear, understand that the metal parts are infallible, damn near. But, you know, Captain Burrs at the gun meetup managed to somehow fuck up one of my Zamburu spears and make a viral video out of it, because that is the perfect example of somebody who does not quite know exactly how to use a spear, using it improperly. Cold Steel Zamburu is probably the best hunting spear, but the assegais are the Zulu fighting spear. The assegais can be thrown. The assegais can be used as a hand-to-hand weapon. But you've got to remember, a human torso is only however long, and I mean however deep. So an assegai blade will kill a human fine, but it does not have the mechanical advantage needed before shaft drag slows it down to where it would actually penetrate an animal such as a lion or such when it's thrown without the human body weight driving it home. So if you're throwing a spear, the Zamburu would be the way to go. Check your local laws before you go hunting with it, because you can get in a lot of trouble. But if somebody was going to want to get the most bang for their buck out of a cold steel spear, I would say go the long assegai, because the long assegai is much more durable for a beginner than a Zamburu spear. My favorite spears are the Zamburu spears, and I've done several videos on them.
So, Tex, what do you suggest for a spear for home defense? Something shorter? You know,
yeah, I would say the, and I'm going to dignify this question because there is no question too stupid to have an answer. But the short assegai, which was the Zulu's hand-to-hand weapon rather than their throwing weapon, you know, if it worked in tribal warfare, when the world goes to shit, it'll work again in tribal warfare.
Okay, what's the best zombie spear?
I would say the short assegai. And I actually, honestly, have a video coming out on this. I haven't made it yet, but my videos don't get shit for views anyway, so I might as well spoil the surprise. I have a tube quiver, and it has Molly on it. So I found out that I can actually take a short assegai with the Kydex sheath and Molly it onto my quiver. And that Kydex, or the Securex sheath will hold it in place to where I can actually, if I'm out of arrows, draw the assegai out from the sheath and have it in a fighting grip. That video is coming at some point in the future.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that. You can count me as a view anyway. I enjoy watching your videos, and I don't know why more people don't, but
I can tell you why they don't. They don't watch me purely on principle, because there's no way to outrun my past. I was a black sheep of YouTube since I ever got mixed up with the crew that I used to run around in. The Nut and Fancy Troll Wars did not help me any, and then when I ventilated my leg, it was just the nail in the coffin. So people will consciously avoid my videos, and they can go fuck themselves, because I'm making it for the people that watch, not the people that don't.
There you go. And those guys are idiots if they're just watching out of spite. Not watching out of spite. Kid missed a lot of good information. Now I'm gonna switch gears again a little here and talk about slingshots, because everybody as a kid grew up with slingshots. I don't know how many of you know what a wrist rocket is, but I had one of those as a kid, and those things are just freaking awesome. And thinking about this chat topic last time, I'm like, I gotta get myself a wrist rocket again. They're just too much fun.
I am almost ashamed to say that one of my most top viewed videos ever was or is my tuning for the Pathfinder sling bow video. My God, that one has so many views on it. And I'm not going to take it down because it's good information. But at the same time, in retrospect, that sling bow that I converted with spear gun bands is really terrible in comparison to traditional archery equipment. It's incredibly compact, but, people, when they think slingshot, they think of the short yoke. There was an incredibly good sling bow that was made by Falcon Industries, and that thing had a wide yoke, and they couldn't sell it because it didn't look like a slingshot. But the trouble is, with a bow, you've got the string, and then you have the riser, and that has brace height in between there. The slingshot doesn't have any brace height. So as soon as it gets to where the bands are all the way compressed, again, it loses its energy, and it doesn't allow you to shoot very accurately over distance. I could probably kill a deer out of a tree stand with a sling bow to prove a point, but at that point it would be no longer the lowest common denominator. It would be like me going to an exotic game ranch and being like, okay, I can kill a deer, I can kill this deer with a PVC bow. I give people reality. But don't get me wrong, slingshots are fun as fuck.
It's a good way in a survival situation to take small game, though, if you practice.
Worst comes to worst, you find a surgical tube and a forked piece of wood, you can make yourself at least some sort of weapon out of it, It doesn't take a whole lot to make a slingshot. I mean, it may not be most effective, but it's better than sitting there with your bare hands.
Well, absolutely. My first slingshot ever, my dad was too cheap to buy me a good one, so we cut up a fucking inner tube out of an old tractor tire, and he put it on a stick. And that was my original slingshot that I ever had.
I still remember my first slingshot. A branch from a tree and 2 rubber bands with a little Band-Aid in the middle to act as the place for the shot. I still remember that one, but when I got my wrist rocket, I just had a lot of fun with that. I was fairly decent, I was picking off little action figures and little army men at, 10 feet, which isn't a whole great distance, but when you're 8 years old, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. When I was shooting air rifle at 10 meters, dude, 10 meters, when you can knock out that pin dot in the middle when you're standing, dude, you think you're just taking a 1,000-yard shot.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, well, anybody got any other topics on this that they want to bring up? Because it's just been me and Tex talking for the last couple of minutes. I mean, we haven't heard from Kirk in a while.
What's the topic for tonight?
Non-firearms related. We never really talked about air rifles.
I've got another one for you too at some point. Improvised weapons.
Ooh, can we go back to spears for a second?
Sure, just keep talking.
Okay, I will. I'm hard to shut up. Okay, so on the topic of the spears, and I know somebody mentioned the atlatl. I can throw a spear really good. I can't hit a fucking thing with an atlatl.
Yeah, I
Now,
wouldn't be concerned with the atlatl about accuracy. I've never used one before, but it does seem hard. You get more power, but it seems hard to be accurate.
Once you get used to, I mean, like anything else, it takes time to master. And I'm no master at it, but I got to the point where I could actually hit the broadside of a barn with one, but I never got beyond that point.
And I think that it's a different weapon in that sense of, first of all, even Tim Wells, who is a proponent of spear hunting, has said on film, you don't see any cavemen because they probably starved because they didn't develop any better weapons. You know, when we hunted with spear, we were not hunting the American whitetail. The American fucking whitetail somehow managed to survive the Clovis hunter and Paleo Indian, okay? The American whitetail is roughly as intelligent and wary as a kudu in Africa. They're smart critters. So when we were hunting with fucking spears, we were hunting animals that would let us get close to them because they were big enough to have no fear of us.
And you all left when I said I was going to go cow hunting one day.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. Have y'all seen the video where the owner of Cold Steel Knives goes to kill a wildebeest with his spear and nearly gets mauled by it and has to pull his 454 Casull out?
I've seen it. I seen it when it came out, and I completely sympathize with him because remember, Nathan, I'm that guy too.
Oh no, I know you would try that too, but it's an excellent thing to watch to see. Okay, I'm going to go up with this spear and kill this wildebeest. Oh crap! Luckily, I have this gun. Boom! To show the effectiveness of a firearm in an emergency.
And
because he was going to get killed by that wildebeest if he didn't have that sidearm.
Oh, he would have got fucked up, most definitely. And in that situation, I've studied the footage. Had that animal not turned its head and he caught it in the horn, it would have been completely epic in his favor. You know, it's not necessarily a fail video, but it definitely illustrates that you should not do any of this dangerous game hunting without a responsible backup.
Yeah, he should have had a safari guide who could have popped it. Yeah, but another thing is I always love the people who I talk about. I carry a 44 Magnum as a backup when I hog hunt, and they're like, "You can kill a hog with a 22." And you know, it's like, well, yeah, if it's not paying attention to you and you shoot it right in its ear, but when they're charging at you, you got to have something with enough power to drop it. Same as that wildebeest. When the spear failed, he had to have the gun to finish it.
You watched my own 375 video, right? Where I clearly state this isn't a weak gun, but stopping power for human beings is irrelevant. Stopping power for dangerous game animals is the ability to impart enough kinetic energy to break the speed of an animal's forward momentum so that it doesn't land on you.
Yeah, it's basically you need a concussive blow to the animal when you hit it properly.
Yes, which by the way,
power.
On the topic of the 375, he was asking about the Spitzer pointed projectiles. One, the 375 is a good flat shooting gun, but it's in a class of firearms that were generally designed to be 100 meters to you shoot them in the head, and the blood shoots onto you out the nose. You know, it's not really.
It wasn't really designed to be a long range gun, but it was one that they found was good to have because it was a balanced all around weapon. If you had to take a long shot on a plains game animal out at range, it was the best option.
Absolutely. I would love to go hunting with the spear. I would. I just don't have the money. But yeah, it would be awesome. But at the same time, you know, Lynn is really good with a spear, but shit can go wrong, like what happened in that video. And to his credit, he did, you know, show the footage. Trust me, I've been out in the field, and I've had to make that call of whether I'm going to hit the delete button. And that is not an easy decision to make. Nobody else knows about this but me. I can own it, or I can show it. And he chose to show it. And I know that it's like, you know, everybody looks at that like a failure video of his. But at the same time, Tim Wells, the guy that he was also hunting with, has taken a Cape buffalo now with a spear, and also a water buffalo down in Australia as well.
Well, I don't see it as a fail video. I see it as an excellent video showing that you can try to do something challenging, but always have a backup.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't carry just one round in your carry gun. You carry multiple.
You know, ideally, what I would love to get a hold of is a howdah for the backup gun. Just because the ability to have, you know, a 12-inch barrel, you know, 12 bore, you know, it's one of those things where it doesn't really, it was developed before the National Firearms Act. You'll never see them made again because they're so obscure that it wouldn't be cost effective for somebody to actually develop a 72 caliber or whatever rifle, you know, a 72 caliber pistol that you could duplicate, you know, birdshot through.
Yeah, the Pedersol makes one, but they're like $800.
And they're fucking cap and ball.
Yeah. But what do you're talking about one that would take more like a cartridge type shell or something?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's
like
what I would.
Mad Max.
Yeah, and I mean that I've seen them before. The old ones. 5.77 Nitro Express is actually 28 gauge. Well, okay, technically it's 26 gauge, but you can shoot, you know, through a 28 bore howdah, you can shoot 5.77, but it would need to be like the 5.77 Snyder brass or whatever. I'm not knowledgeable enough to be positing the theory. But somehow we got back around to guns. But
hey, that's okay. Go off topic. It's been on the topic for an hour, so.
What about blowguns? You know, little darts, and you blow into those.
Oh shit, yeah. I've got one of them. At some point, I need to hook the cold steel blowgun up to the air compressor at work.
Oh.
Now, how long can you get those little darts?
How long? The bamboo ones. Like, I've seen people where they'll take an X-Acto knife blade and they'll take a bamboo dart and they will literally haft an X-Acto knife blade on the end of on the end of a bamboo dart.
Because if you could get one long enough, you think that could penetrate enough for a zombie skull?
The question is not so much that. The question is, are you going to have the lung power after running for your life to where you're actually going to be able to power this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not all that knowledgeable on blowguns, but I mean, what is really the max size animal you could kill without adding poison to it? You know?
A bunny rabbit.
Probably a rabbit, it would be my opinion. I mean, as far as the poison side of things goes, Tim Wells, yet again, I reference him a lot because he does the shit that I wish I could do first, but he's the one with the money right now. Tim Wells with poison, with snake venom on the darts, has killed animals in Africa. I believe that he's actually killed whitetail in America with a blowgun using rattlesnake venom.
Is that illegal or is that legal?
Well, I would imagine that it's legal because he filmed it, but you would definitely have to check your state regulations, or it's possible that he got a neo-tribal style of allowance for that. I like the word neo-tribal myself because there's primitive, and that's stone. And the cold steel spears and stuff is like neo-tribal. You know, it's the old school, but modern materials. It's almost like steampunk.
Right. And there's tribes, or at least one tribe of natives down in South America that use the blowgun. They use the
tree frog, something like that.
The poisoned, the poison dart frog. I think is actually what the frog is called. Because they get they take the poison, which is a paralytic, off of the tree, whatever kind of frog it is, I can't remember. And then they use that to paralyze the animal, which will fall out of the trees, normally a monkey. And they dispatch it, And let's see, what was the next thing I was gonna... Oh, I want to talk a little bit about... No, Nathan's gone, dang it. Rob, you had something you wanted to bring up? I guess Rob is MIA too.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
I had myself muted. I was saying, like, improvised weapons and stuff would be a good topic for the chat.
Well, improvised...
Just like, stuff that you could craft while out in whatever situation you're in.
What you can make? Well, again, it all depends on the materials you have available. I know.
Let's just say you're... I was going to say, let's just say that you have rocks, wood, and or whatever you might find in your local area here in North America, for the most part.
Well, you can make slings relatively easy. If you just had some, like, paracord, you can make a sling.
Like, what kind of weapons are we talking about? Because you can make a trebuchet or a catapult.
Right. But I'm going, with a sling, which is a relatively simple weapon. Hard to master, but simple to make. All it is a frickin' piece of rope with a little pocket on it, and that you put a rock in and you twirl around your head, and hopefully it goes where you're aiming. It is what took down, a lot of warriors.
Yeah, the sling is one thing I've never managed to figure out how to properly use one.
I've managed to hit myself in the head numerous times. It's not fun.
I've had one. I never was really good at aiming them. I know how to shoot them, and they're probably easy to make, but...
Like, the only thing I could ever figure out how to spin and throw worth a darn was a set of bolas. And they're pretty simple.
when I was younger, I took cable, and because I remember watching that Zorro episode where there's a bolo, and I ended up wanting to make one. So I got these washers, and I would stack washers, and then I would get a bolt and a piece of cable, and I would, slide it through there, and then I would tighten down the nut, and then I'd get the other piece of cable and tighten it down, and I made a probably incredibly deadly bolo out of stacked washers on, airplane cable.
Well, I remember this, and I'm glad you brought this up because I remember this toy as a kid. Back when they still made lawn darts. But these were, I think they're either called clackers or clonkers or something like that. They were 2 plastic balls and a little plastic piece in the middle of the string that you just sit there and you make noise with them, bouncing them back and forth, trying to get, a rhythm down. But eventually that little piece of plastic in the middle broke, so I ended up using it as a throwing weapon, as a bolo. As a kid, I just remember having a lot of fun with that. I was never really good with it, but I could do it. So I bring, I've got
a little bit of a story for you. My first experience with a bolo type weapon was kind of by accident. I'd never tried one or had one or anything like that. And of course, as a kid, I watched Batman. And one day I was playing around and had a little one of those things you hang from your rearview mirror in your car, like an ornament type thing. We just had one of those sitting around at my buddy's house. It was 2 8-balls, like full 8-balls, with about 2 feet of string in between them. And my buddy was walking down the hall, and I was sitting there spinning them, and I just figured I'd fling it at him one day. So I spun as fast as I could and flung it right at him, and I actually caught him at the knees and tripped him with it. And I was like, holy crap. And then from there, I started making all kinds of homemade crap like that.
All right, and again, I think all of us had, BB guns as a kid, and you look at, air rifles these days, and I'm amazed at, how far they've come from a little Daisy or a Red Ryder that you had as a kid. And
you used to have to pump it or lever it. Now you just put a battery in it.
Well, that's one way. There's also, the ones that are spring powered. I look into it a little bit, but I'm like, really? I'm not going to spend, $1,200 for this, pellet gun. I mean, that's a lot of really cool projectiles. So, yeah, it's a couple blocks.
Yeah. Put the rail on that stuff.
So, anybody want to chime in on, on the pellet gun air rifles?
Now, I don't know if any of y'all prep or anything.
As a kid, Red Ryder and the regular pump rifle, and that was it.
If any of y'all are preppers, do y'all have a air rifle or a BB gun in your one of your weapons? I mean, that won't be an effective weapon, but you can use that for small game and to be quiet.
Oh yeah, well, with the one that I had as a kid, you pump it up a few times and you could easily take a squirrel.
Oh yeah, I've killed many squirrels with BB guns.
Yeah, but when you get that thing cranked up to, mine was a max of 10 pumps. I always went beyond, went farther than that as a kid. And I know you could take a lot larger stuff like rabbits easy. So, hey, Girk, you there? He grew up in the hood. I bet you he had a Glock in his hand or a high point, but it's called a Glock.
Well, I know high point kind of qualifies as a blunt instrument for this discussion, doesn't it?
Dude, if you run out of ammo with a high point, you just beat your opponent to death with it.
No, I'm gonna say
I believe if somebody shoots back at you and you have a high point, you just deflect it with the gun.
Well, I'm gonna say this: the one firearm that some people do have that might as well be thrown is a Keltec.
I gotta say, in the spirit of the movie Dodgeball, if you can dodge a ball, you can dodge a high ball.
Red. All right.
So Tex, before I came in here, I actually looked on YouTube for that video of you throwing the assegai. Is there any practicality in throwing the short assegai, or is that more of a handheld thrusting weapon?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because that's something that I am actually currently in research on. What I am planning on doing is taking my atlatl arm and then carving a knock in the end of my assegai handle on the short assegai. See if you could actually use the short assegai in conjunction with an atlatl to make it fly like an arrow with a high weight forward of center.
I'm sorry, what's an atlatl?
Think
big stick you throw a spear with.
God damn it! I've got one in here somewhere. I just can't see it from where
how's
I'm
that
sitting.
spelled? I'll just look it up on Google.
I can't fucking remember how to spell it.
Yeah, an atlatl, just think of it as a short length of normally wood that you put the end of the spear in. It lengthens your arm length and your pivot point, so
okay,
you get extra velocity.
Like a slingshot for spears.
The Australians would call it a wumra.
Okay.
That helps with the more obscure reference. Now I know what it is.
I asked because I heard you talking about cold steel spears, and I'm like, wait, what? So I go on there, I look at it, and the full length assegai doesn't look like something I'd want to own. But that short one, for some reason, it speaks to me. But I only want to get it if it's practical,
Well, okay. It's more of a thrusting weapon. Because I'm an honest man, I can't honestly tell you how it throws. If you were wanting, however, the long assegai throws okay, but it doesn't throw very well. Because the handle drags it down rather than the point dragging it down. If you are getting into the spears, a cold steel, large Zamburu spear, and then buy a medium or the light, I think, is the handle, because the shorter the handle between that, the stiffer the handle and the less it is likely to break. The same way as if you fold a piece of paper over and over and over again, each time that you fold that piece of paper, it gets harder to fold. Each time that you take an inch off of an arrow shaft, that arrow shaft becomes stiffer.
Well, I don't think I'm getting into the spears. It's just it looked interesting,
I've wanted one for a while. Just have one. In a minute, we're
Did you see the link that I dropped in here as far as, I'll just drop it again.
That picture?
I saw the picture of your bow and spear. You're ready for the zombie apocalypse.
Yes, the Walker Ready Walkabout kit. The reason that I developed that system, I'm sure I'm not the first to do it, and if I am the first to do it, it's probably a dumb idea. But the reason that I developed that with, the short assegai is because no bullshit survival can't have a gun, but he has to deal with dingoes. So when he's walkabout out bush, a knife is one thing, a gun is much better, But a knife on the end of a stick is always better than a knife in your hand because it gives you reach, it gives you leverage to drive it down.
But I thought if you had a dingo problem, you throw babies at them.
Right.
No. That's you're drunk in the tent and the dingo comes in and steals it.
Yeah, I shared that picture that you shared with us in here with the external, so I know what's going on over at Gun Channels. That is cool.
I just kind of wanted to add to what Tex was saying. If you had about the knife on the end of a stick, I was going to say bayonets, because if you have a knife on the end of a gun, you're just really rocking out. So I think bayonets are a valid survival option for stuff like that.
Well, they're good to use against zombies because, you know, they're over arm's length reach away, so that's great.
It's also really going to depend on what type of bayonet you have, because, you know, they vary just as much as firearms or any other primitive weapon could.
Where'd G-Webs go? G-Webs knows a lot about bayonets.
Geos is one to set up his podcast. But one other thing on these bayonets, yeah, because it does make a difference. The pig sticker for the Lee Enfield, you don't have to worry about it getting caught and stuff, unlike the crucifix from, you know, the Mosin or, you know, the AK bayonets, which can get stuck. You know, just a metal sharp point. You know, it's this round sharp point just goes right in and comes right out.
Sorry to.
You're talking about the spike bayonets.
Yeah, the spike bayonets. They're called pig stickers for the Lee Enfield.
Sorry to get off topic, but since you were talking about Lee Enfields, it made me think of M1 Garands. The gun shop here, I haven't been to in a while, and I went today with my good friend. They have a freaking M1 Garand for $400. Only thing wrong with it is the stock's beat to hell.
Where is this?
This is in Texas.
Oh.
You can buy a new stock pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. My friend, he's looking at buying it. Because they said they were going to throw in the gun, 3 boxes of ammo, and you know those little clips that go in them?
The end blocks?
Yeah. They're going to throw in like 10 of those for $800 altogether.
Wait, I thought you said the gun was $400.
3 boxes?
It was about $400 or $500. It was somewhere around there.
So even if it's 3 boxes,
how did it go from 400 to a bunch of
that's what I'm
Romans and
saying.
800?
So that's why he's just going to get the rifle instead of all that stuff. You know,
I was
it's
gonna
like,
say, that sounds like some ass backwards haggling.
is it
We'll throw
like
this
it?
in money.
but there's some, we saw some pitting on it a little bit, but
Still, I mean, it's
not
cheaper
bad.
than you can go get one of the from the. What is the? I can never remember the name of the.
and I told him just go back and just buy the gun itself. Don't get all the ammo or the M blocks. Just buy.
Unless they're talking like 3 boxes, like 3 surplus boxes of 3-8 or something. What is it?
So,
The M2
I just thought
armor
of
piercing?
something to go on the improvised weapon. The cold steel short assegai, okay? It has a head that you can take off of it, and so the head can be used like a bayonet in your, you know, a handheld bayonet. The head can be used as a throwing knife, and the handle, of course, being short and stiff, can be used as a blunt impact truncheon, like a police baton to an extent. So really, the short assegai would technically be the way to go for you, because you're buying a spear, you're buying a pike, and you're buying a throwing knife.
Here's a
You
good
don't
one.
need to talk me into it. You gotta make convinced there, Tex. So how much is Cold Steel paying you?
Not shit. I'm pretty sure that Lynn Thompson hates me. Remember that everybody in the industry likes to have this family-friendly Southern Bible Belt, Bible-thumping bullshit persona, and Tex fucking Grebner doesn't really fit into that.
Here's a improvised weapon. Y'all know the handheld like garden tills that you can get like at a Home Depot shop or whatever. It's got 3 prongs on it. You stick in the ground. Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's a good, because the spikes are pretty long on that. That's a good improvised weapon.
Yeah, well, unless you guys have anything else to bring up on these, on this subject, we can just open this up for until 11:30, just to open topics, whatever you guys want to talk about.
I put in the chat in the gun channel, I was talking about a Black Rain Ordnance AR-15. I mean, because the gun shop I was at, the gun shop owner, he's like 28, 27, and he one of the guys that worked for him built a nice Black Ordnance AR. It came with a burst. No, it didn't come with the burst red dot, but it was beautiful though. And I was thinking about getting it so bad, but they were wanting $1,500. But it was Black Ordnance upper and lower, Yankee Hill rails. What else? It was a Magpul stock, the expensive one, and it was, I can't remember what barrel it was.
The really important parts are the barrel and the BCG. Who made those?
I don't know who made the barrel, but it was I think no, it was Black Ordnance barrel too. It was the one that was fluted, kinda.
Fluted barrel.
Speaking of bolt carrier groups and bolts, I think I'd like to talk about that for a minute, because that's the bolt carrier group and the charging handle are the only 2 pieces that I'm missing from completing my AR build at the moment, and I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that.
I don't know.
Yes, you definitely need them.
Okay.
I'm actually on Palmetto State Army right now, looking up those parts for you.
Yeah, when I was on Palmetto State the last time, I was looking at their. I was thinking about maybe springing for the nickel boron bolt carrier group, but I was trying to decide between that or just getting a standard. And if I get a standard, I may get from there or somewhere else. I don't know yet.
Nickel boron is really nice for not having to worry about cleaning it too much or it sticking or anything, but if you get a normal bolt carrier group, run a few hundred rounds through it, clean it really well, they work just fine once you get them all worked in and cleaned up.
Whatever I get, I know I want to get quality, something that's magnetic particle inspected, high pressure test, all that sort of crap.
Yeah, it's looking like
I'm just trying to decide cost versus value on what's going to be the best value at a reasonable price.
Well, what's the reasonable price? This Palmetto State Army one I linked to, it's $120, and it's got all the mil-spec. It checks all the boxes on the technical data package list. Carpenter steel bolt, high pressure tested, magnetic particle inspected, chrome lined, full auto carrier, chrome lined gas key, and straight on down the list.
So that's everything. That's the bolt.
Well, the only thing that worries me when they talk about the chroming on AR parts is I know depending on how the chrome job is done, under a lot of heat and stress, the chrome tends to kind of flake and peel and come out depending on the quality of the job. And that's why you've got some guys that will charge a low amount for a chromed piece, as to where you've got some guys that they might want up to plus 200 for a chromed out bolt or the gas key, all the different pieces is typically chrome.
I suppose I can understand that, but there's a couple of things. Chrome lining on a bolt carrier group serves only to increase the ease of cleaning it. Nothing there is under the extremely high temperatures and forces that you would see inside a barrel. So, for one, I don't think that there's that a greater risk of the chrome lining actually flaking off or peeling up. And secondly, Palmetto State Armory, they're pretty well trusted. I don't think they would sell anything that has had the price cut.
Not about them specifically. I was just talking about chrome jobs in general.
Chrome jobs. So hey, Rob. Right now, Ares Armor's having their mil-spec M16 full auto bolt for $98, $10 priority 2-day shipping. So $108, you get a freaking full auto full carrier group shipped to your door within 2 days.
I know about it because they got all their records.
Yep, it's an unserialized item, so that's a fallacy you're saying right now, dude.
Well, they'll still have a receipt.
And it is a BTA. It's ATF. I mean, approved, I guess. So for $108 for a full M16 bolt carrier group, I got one right here, laying next to me right now. You can't beat that price.
I mean, that's not a bad price.
And you're supporting a great
I
company.
think Aries Armor should have a sale and call it the ATF Raid sale.
They do. They have a right now. They have a They have the Bureau of Alcohol,
You're cutting out.
firearms. Oh yeah, they have them right here. I'll link it to you guys.
They're having a what? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Cut out on me.
No. Now let me link it to you guys.
Oh, okay.
It is, I started hearing AR talk. I'm building an AR receiver right now as we talk, putting the lower parts in right now. Almost done.
Now that I think about it, I should probably do some videos on my AR build. I'm going from like nothing to almost complete gun. Haven't done a single video on it.
There's guys who do better video than I do, so if they want to watch that, they should go watch that instead. That's why I feel like it. Yes, I don't know if this. Yes, cause my hair's pretty a mess, but you see my little parts kit, and I'm building it right now. I just need to do the.
What kind of lower you got?
This is a surplus ammo and arms, so this is a local company. So I just made a detent, the back pivot, back dump in, and then the stock. So.
Gotcha.
What kind of stock's going on there?
The regular stock. I got the Palmetto State mil spec one.
It's a mil spec tube. Okay.
Yeah. Just to watch me do this, if you guys want. Be creepers.
Have y'all seen that that stock that I don't know who makes it, but it's kind of new to the market and it makes like an L shape?
The minimalist, yeah. One of the guys in our panel has one. Tactical 6-string. He says he loves it. It's I think it's like 5 ounces lighter or something like that, and he put a paracord thingy on it.
Oh yeah, I seen that last night. That's awesome. So what's that thing called? The minimalist?
Minimalist, yeah. So it's like that's how I do it. I do a chopstick, and then that's how I get the forward the pivot. What's it? The detent down. That's how you do it.
Hey man, whatever works. Although here's the thing, you know how there's that tiny little hole in the side of the receiver that goes into the bore that holds the detent in the spring?
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use a punch to depress the spring past that witness hole, and then you put a pin in that hole to capture the spring.
So if you look at it right now, this is me putting in the spring down there. So if you look at it, the spring can't go any further past that point. So that makes no sense.
You're right.
So you understand?
You're right. Yeah.
I think it's just for like if you want to like lube it up and make sure like it's working, Don't tell me how to build ARs. I've been doing this for the past like 10 minutes.
On my screen, and everyone was.
Shit hurts, dude. I cut my fingernails, so I have like no fingernails at all.
You suck with the bench press.
I know. I'm sorry, I can't keep it in frame or anything. I don't really want to. The scariest part, because if it flies out, dude, I'm not probably gonna find it.
Dude, it's super simple. Just some needle nose pliers, right? Put the spring in the hole, grip the detent, put your detent in the hole with the needle nose plier, and force the pin in while pushing down on the detent too, and you should be able to pop the pin right in. Shouldn't fly away if you're holding it with the plier.
I have a needle nose plier right here.
Not that hard.
So like that, like this is what I do. I use a chopstick, so then it has it like that. You just hold it down, because you know how it tapers out. So you just
You can do that. Yeah, you can do that. That'll work.
That's not a bad idea, man.
Kisan, where'd you find a chopstick?
Oh man, I don't know. Your wife was over here the other night, making me.
Now, come on, Nathan. You know that's Stone Guy's job to make those kinds of comments.
It was too easy.
Yeah.
No comment there.
It was like he set it up like, I'm going to go in the chat and have a chopstick stuck in my gun.
That's what I knew. It's easy. You know, you have a lot of leverage, so like you don't have to worry about like a small like Allen key or anything like that. You know, so you get more. You know, especially when you have a small thing like this.
That's what she said.
Does it have plenty of dog grease on it so it slides in and out through the hole?
No, cat grease.
Cat grease. Okay, good.
Cats are tastier.
They're more lean. You know, it's all about being healthy, right?
Good thing G-Web isn't in this chat, otherwise he'd take offense to that.
I eat cat with my, my bull penis next after that, right? It's for dessert. This chat's really crickets right now.
We're watching you.
Yeah, we're watching you put a gun together. This is ridiculous.
There it goes. Does it lock on me?
So I went to a place on when you talk.
Well, we've relatively killed this chat here.
I went
So
to a place today.
well, I'm going to shut it down. I want to thank Gary for watching. I want to thank Tex for coming out and providing a lot of useful information. I'll see you here at the same Quark channel next Saturday. Night all.